William, a black man in his 40s, is the epitome of quiet power, the kind possessed by those who have risen through the ranks without ever feeling the need to brag. Its presence commands silent respect, like an invisible but palpable force. His appearance, both sober and elegant, attracts attention without making the slightest effort to stand out. His face expresses the serenity of those who have overcome challenges with dignity, and his eyes, hidden behind refined sunglasses, bear the traces of the experiences that led him to where he is today. His words, rare but carefully chosen, captivate the attention of those around him. He doesn't need to speak loudly to be heard. A word from him is enough to command respect. His voice, calm and gentle, exudes a wisdom that inspires confidence and arouses the admiration of those who are lucky enough to cross his path. For William, true strength lies in self-control, in the ability to remain humble while possessing undeniable power. He moves forward with the confidence of someone who knows that success is a personal reward which we carry within ourselves, without needing to show it to others. Discreet and reserved, he leaves a lasting impression without ever seeking to dominate. William is living proof that a man can build an empire without losing his humility, that it is possible to succeed while keeping your feet on the ground. Today, William has decided to pilot his own private jet for a business trip, a choice that reflects his independence, his passion for aviation, and a freedom that he acquired through determination. His mind is already focused on the strategic meetings and opportunities that await him upon his arrival. Driving confidently to the airport's private terminal, he savors these final quiet moments, mentally focusing for a demanding day. Wearing an impeccably tailored white shirt that subtly contrasts with his complexion, he embodies effortless elegance and no-nonsense style. No three-piece suit, no flashy watch. William never needed these artifices to assert his place in the world. His success is anchored in a discreet dignity that does not seek attention but commands respect. Each step is measured, each gesture imbued with this quiet assurance which betrays the journey of a man who knows where he comes from and what he has accomplished. As he approaches the terminal, his calm is suddenly interrupted by an unexpected obstacle. Maxime, a young police officer recently assigned to this prestigious position, steps forward abruptly, his gaze suspicious and imbued with an authority that he still seems to be learning to wield. Maxime hastens to block William's way, a slight sneer on his lips, as if he was waiting for this moment to establish his authority. Upon seeing William, his first reaction is thinly veiled contempt. He examines him from head to toe, frantically searching for the external signs of wealth that would justify his presence in this terminal reserved for wealthy individuals. But Maxime sees nothing flashy, nothing that corresponds to the expectations he formed by imagining the profile of travelers in this luxury terminal. Disconcerted by William's sober elegance, he immediately concludes that this man probably does not belong here. "Sorry, sir. I'm going to have to do a check," Maxime declares in a dry and authoritative tone, his voice tinged with a coldness that betrays his desire to be respected. He holds out his hand in a calculated gesture, waiting for William to give him his papers. His posture, rigid and theatrical, suggests that he delights in this temporary power that he exercises over a stranger. Maxime savors every second of what he imagines to be an exercise in legitimate control, leafing through William's documents with exaggerated slowness, taking care to gauge him with his eyes between each page. His face displays a satisfied expression, as if he had finally found ground on which to impose his authority. "A pilot, you say?" sneers Maxime, finally looking up from the documents to stare at William skeptically. He allows himself a mocking smile, observing his interlocutor as if he were an impostor or an intruder, incapable of believing that such a soberly dressed man could be at the head of a private jet. "To fly here, you need a certain standing, you understand," he adds sarcastically, emphasizing his words to reinforce the idea that this man is out of place. In his mind, it can only be a misguided employee or an assistant trying to pass himself off as something else. But William does not let himself be destabilized. Accustomed to handling much more complex situations, whether in the business world or in high-pressure contexts, He displays a calm smile and responds politely to each question. His words are measured, chosen carefully so as not to fuel Maxime's condescending tone. The young policeman's denigrating remarks seem to slide over him like water over rock, testifying to his self-control and his indifference to hasty judgments. Disappointed by this lack of reaction, Maxime, whose need to validate his authority seems to be growing, insists with increasingly crude innuendos. "So, who do you work for?" "You must be someone's driver, right?" he suggests, flashing a smirk that betrays his misplaced satisfaction. Maxime delights in what he considers to be a legitimate act of control, convinced that he has unmasked an imposter. In his mind, a man like William, whose sober outfit contrasts with the flamboyant image he imagines he should see in this airport, can only be an employee or a lost passenger, an individual whose status cannot rival that of the true elites. His words, full of contempt, resonate in the restricted space of the terminal, but they leave no imprint on William. The latter, whose patience and dignity are unwavering, feels the heavy air of Maxime's condescension, but he chooses not to let himself be trapped by the game. He knows that Maxime's provocation is tinged with insecurity, a desperate attempt to prove to himself and others that his uniform gives him superiority over those he considers inferior. William, who has worked with business executives, government leaders, and other authority figures, is unfazed by the antics of a young police officer whose experience seems to be limited to the use of his badge. Each insult disguised as a question, each malicious insinuation, testifies to the fragility of Maxime's ego, who seeks to build his confidence through the denigration of others. At this moment, Maxime understands his mistake, shock appearing on his face like sudden clarity. Every word he said against William echoes in his mind, and he feels a wave of shame wash over him. His heart races as he realizes the extent of his contempt. Murmurs from the other police officers and terminal employees begin to circulate, quickly turning into a collective murmur, a mixture of curiosity and surprise. The faces around him, previously indifferent, come alive with palpable attention. Not only is William the pilot of the flight in question, but he is also the founder and owner of the private airline. This revelation puts Maxime in a delicate position because he realizes that he has despised a man of much greater stature than he could have imagined. Information begins to circulate like wildfire. A respected billionaire in the field of aviation and international business, known for his humility and discretion. Maxime's colleagues exchange looks that betray their own shock, and some begin to murmur praise towards William, showing their admiration for his impressive career. He is not just a businessman, he is also a philanthropist, involved in sustainable development and training projects for young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. Maxime, witnessing this admiration, feels a surge of guilt, realizing that his actions only revealed his own prejudices. As details about William begin to pile up in the air, he learns that the man has dedicated a significant portion of his fortune to helping underprivileged communities, creating scholarships and funding environmental initiatives. This dimension of his personality resonates deeply with those who listen to him. The revelation of his identity creates a shockwave in the terminal, as if a lightning bolt had passed through the room. The murmurs turn into passionate discussions, and Maxime realizes that his mistake goes beyond a simple error. He not only insulted a worthy man, but he also neglected everything that William stands for. The security agents, now aware, approach Maxime, giving him disapproving looks, while some employees take up William's defense, citing his notable contributions to the community. Maxime, frozen and red with shame, feels his hands trembling slightly as he clumsily tries to apologize. His words stick together in his throat, as if they were trapped in a shame that suffocates him. He stammers a few sentences, but they seem hollow and devoid of sincerity, inadequate in the face of the magnitude of his error. However, William just looks at him with the same calm and serene smile that he kept throughout the incident. This smile, both soothing and detached, reflects a wisdom and confidence that is deeply impressive to those who observe it. With unwavering dignity, William simply responds, "Perhaps it would be wise, young man, never to underestimate people based on appearances. His words resonate in the air, carrying a wisdom that Maxime cannot ignore. They seem to float around him, each syllable imprinting itself on his mind as a fundamental truth that he can no longer refuse to accept. The contrast between his arrogance and William's humility hits him hard, leaving him in emotional turmoil. Maxime, his cheeks on fire, feels like a child caught at fault in front of his teacher, unable to justify his actions. The other police officers and terminal employees look at him with a mixture of compassion and judgment, and he feels the weight of their attention weighing heavily on him. Everyone in the room seems aware that this situation is more than a simple misunderstanding. It is a lesson in how prejudice can cloud our judgment and lead us to despise those we do not understand. William, imperturbable, seems to have transcended the situation. His gaze, both piercing and forgiving, seems to communicate a deep understanding of human imperfections. It's as if he knew that Maxime would need time to digest his words and learn a lesson from them. The radiance of his smile does not fade, and this demonstrates a form of greatness of spirit which only increases Maxime's discomfiture. The latter, at this moment, realizes that the truths of life are not only hidden behind titles or appearances, but that they often reside in the depth of actions and intentions. As William walks away to board his private jet, Agent Maxime finds himself immobilized, almost as if anchored to the ground by the force of his own humiliation. Each step William takes seems amplified, as if time has frozen around him. The murmur of surrounding conversations slowly fades away, each word spoken by the witnesses becoming a distant echo in his mind. He observes the faces of the other agents and terminal employees, their expressions oscillating between curiosity, compassion, and slight disdain. For them, the scene revealed not only his lack of discernment, but also the depth of prejudice that can exist even among those who are supposed to be models of authority. His thoughts intertwine, feeding a bitter realization. He let his arrogance cloud his judgment, and he will have to live with the consequences of that mistake. The weight of this realization hits him like a wave, causing him to reflect on the many times he has judged people by appearances. Every moment of this confrontation with William flashes through his mind, like a movie he can't turn off. He remembers his casual attitude, his sharp words, and the astonishment on the face of the man he had treated with contempt. As William disappears into the corridor leading to his plane, Maxime feels a wave of introspection. Her words resonate within him, seeming to gain momentum with each passing moment. Perhaps it would be wise, young man, to never underestimate people based on appearances. This phrase becomes a mantra in his mind, a truth that pushes him to reconsider not only his professional interactions, but also his approach to life in general. He begins to realize that his role as a security agent is not limited to enforcing rules, but also involves a duty to listen and understand. The need for sincere empathy towards those who, like William, deserve respect and recognition is apparent to him with disconcerting clarity. This moment, although humbling, could well turn into an opportunity for growth. Maxime understands that he has the responsibility to change his attitude, to get rid of his prejudices, and to learn to see beyond appearances. As he remains there, the eyes of others scrutinizing him, Maxime internally promises himself never again to let his hasty judgments lead him to such errors. He reminds himself that each person has a unique story, struggles, and triumphs that often only reveal themselves to those who take the time to truly listen. By realizing this, he hopes to cultivate an environment of mutual respect and acceptance. Finally, as the jet moves away, Maxime internally promises himself to change. This moment of realization, although overwhelming, proves to be a defining turning point in his life. He feels a rising heat in his chest, a combination of determination and regret that urges him to consider a future where he could act with more wisdom and empathy. He knows that true life lessons are not always easy to accept, but they are often the most valuable. Maxime realizes that every human interaction contains the possibility of learning something new, opening your mind and broadening your horizons. The prejudices that led him to despise William are only a reflection of the fears and uncertainties he carries within him. This moment of humiliation, therefore, becomes an opportunity to grow, to free oneself from the chains of one's own stereotypes, and to forge more authentic bonds with those around one. Watching the jet disappear into the blue sky, he promises himself to listen more, to ask questions rather than pass judgments. He knows he must learn to see each individual for who they truly are, rather than who their mind wants to believe they are. Maxime imagines a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect, a world where we take the time to know others before drawing conclusions. This world is within his reach, if he chooses to do this work within himself. With this promise in mind, he feels lighter, as if an immense weight had just been lifted from his shoulders. He knows that he will have to face challenges, that changing his habits and his state of mind will not be an easy task. But he is ready to embark on this journey of personal transformation, to face his weaknesses with courage, and to embrace the opportunities for growth that come his way. Maxime is committed to becoming a model for his colleagues, to embodying the values he wishes to see in his environment. He wants to inspire others to abandon their prejudices and act with understanding, to build relationships based on mutual respect. Deep down, he hopes that one day, his own actions and way of being can contribute to positive change in society. As he returns to his duties, a new perspective emerges within him. Every day will now be a chance to learn, improve, and fully engage with the world. Maxime is determined not to let this experience be just a painful memory, but rather a spark that ignites a passion for empathy and understanding. He is willing to make every interaction a learning opportunity, transforming his humiliation into strength and his shame into wisdom.